Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will be drawing a donut in alcohol marker. So we went on stream and everyone did a little bit of a vote and we voted for alcohol marker donut. So this is the next installment in our revamped bakery series. I've done a series of baked goods in the past. I called it Bougie Bakery, and I did a sticker sheet, some mini memo pads. I also have an A5 size memo pad using that artwork. It was done with some Faber-Castell watercolor pencils, but it's been a few years. I have better materials now, and I wanted to redo it in sort of a maybe different, better way, I guess. So we're doing our usual sort of process of alcohol markers. We did a cinnamon roll already. That was the first installment into the set. And I liked how the cinnamon roll came out, but it did come out a bit darker than I had initially intended. I actually think it was just because I kept watching my monitor because I was streaming it at the time, and my monitor is quite bright and very vibrant and saturated, and I kept thinking, this needs to be darker, this needs to be darker. And by the end I looked down and I was like, oh, that's too dark. So this time I tried to pay closer attention to what was actually in front of me, and I chose colors accordingly. So some of them are the same as the ones that I used in the previous cinnamon roll, but again, it's a much lighter palette, I think, and a little bit yellowier, because I think initially in the cinnamon roll the dough ended up being a little too pink at the beginning, so I had to layer more and more yellow on top, and that meant we couldn't preserve as much as the light, because with alcohol markers you have to go from light to dark, otherwise you have to use some other kind of opaque medium like a colored pencil, or maybe a paint pen, or just paints, or gel pen, like what I end up doing towards the end, if you want to put a lighter color on top of a darker color. So to make this process much more, smoother, we kind of needed to just choose carefully from the beginning, which is what I should have done before anyway with the cinnamon roll, but whatever, it is what it is. So we start off with a very light yellow. I did go in with the pearl white, which is quite a light pinky color, but because I put the yellow underneath it, it didn't show up so pink. And then I just layered some like darker yellows and yellow grays for the shading on the dough, just going back and forth. With things like Bristol board, which are great for alcohol markers. That's my preferred kind of paper, is Bristol board for alcohol markers. It doesn't really absorb the ink all that much compared to like maybe a watercolor paper or something. And so if you work too quickly, if you don't let the layers dry, it can sort of pool on top and the ink starts to separate a bit, which did start to happen. I had to wait for a little bit. We just chatted and just waited for it to dry a bit before I layer a bit more on top to try and smooth it out. So I don't think it looks so bad by the end, but it was definitely noticeable in the moment. But I moved on to the icing. The reason I chose this reference image in particular was because I really like the color palette of it, of like just like the ivory and then the sort of gray chocolate on top, the like soft gray brown sort of highlights, I guess, were very cozy and definitely my vibe, as you can tell from the overlay here. We have a lot of browns and grays and beige and all that, so very appealing to me. Feels like coziness and baked goods. Some people might say it's boring. I'd say it's reminds me of delicious things, so that's why we like it. And I just went in with some, again, similar colors. Started off very light. I think this was a Copic Chow E40 for the lightest color. And then we went in with like the E41 and then some browns, going increasingly darker. I also tried to really emphasize the roundness of the donut. So like with the chocolate stripes on top, make sure there's a big curve around the edge, and then when I went in with shading, making sure by the edge I sort of pushed everything back to make it appear more 3D. Then we went in, I think this is the Copic E41, I think. we went in with this like lightish gray brown because that's the color I saw where the light hit the chocolate in a really soft way. And I just kept going with slightly darker colors, 3 or 4 different shades of brown. Again, focusing on sort of the edge of the stripes. I wanted them to stand out a little bit more than they did in the reference image, like it was sort of thicker. And so by going around the edges, it's sort of the light pushes the middle forward and the dark pushes the edges back, so it gives it sort of like a more 3D or round appearance. And I did go in every once in a while with that Holbein white. You can see on the left there, that Holbein white colored pencil. That is the soft white. There are 2 different ones in the Holbein like range, but this one is super soft. It has a lot of like wax in it, so it actually repels alcohol ink quite well if you put it on first and then you want to like color over it, but you don't want that white to go completely away. It helps a little bit with that. So I put some of that in some places so it remained pretty light, but then I did go in later with some gel pen just for like the very lightest like stark white bits that I saw in the reference image. Now we're cleaning it up. We're going around the edges with colored pencil. This colored pencil is supposed to be like matching the color around the edges, so it's not really supposed to be line art, just supposed to sharpen everything up. And sometimes I go in with a slightly deeper color to darken it up a bit, so I don't have to like go in too heavily with markers. And I tried to soften the edges as well, like it's not just one stark line. I sort of like did a bit of a gradient, and then there's that gel pen, and we're finished. So thank you guys very much for watching. I will see you in the next one. We will definitely do more alcohol markers and maybe digital art sometime soon. See you later. Bye.